Yep, they don't need
They don't need any visual. They don't need any explanation. It's great.
The best jokes have their own visual gag attached to them that you can just imagine.
Yep.
And you didn't need anything else to that.
That's it.
So we'll have to set up a golf outing.
Stigmata.
All right.
Stigmata. Jazz hands, Jesus.
I like.
I love doing jazz hands and yelling stigmata.
This episode is made possible by our therapy partner, Dirty B. From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now broadcasting from the churn, that guy is Dr. Jim Job, and I'm Nick Tangman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
It's March Madness, fools. And if you'd like to be part of the bracket, go to patreon.com/therapy. Submit your bracket. You are very likely to beat Jacob, who has entrusted his bracket into the hands of God.
I'm completely random on my pick.
Blind fate.
Flip of a coin
Jesus
on every pick.
Take the wheel.
Yep.
Handled it over, and then that's it. They're just flipping the coin, and we're going to see what happens.
This is proof. This is proof from the Lord above that I have more faith than Jim Jobin.
You know what? You're not wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a good point. We should actually...
Also, I am confident that I'm going to beat Jim with
I think
my
I finally
randomness.
thought up a good bet on this. All right, how about this?
All right.
So we know loser between the three of us is buying the sushi for the other two.
And I will not, and I'm not backing out of that because I didn't really make my picks.
You're a
I've already said.
You're a gentleman.
I know the risk I'm taking.
All right.
If Jacob's bracket wins the entire thing...
Okay. He's hedging away from winning between the three of us.
No,
You
the
see
whole
how he's already
thing. He's got to
gotten away
win the
from
whole
that.
thing because I want it to be astronomical. Okay, so not just beats three of us. That's a joke. Got to beat like all 50 of the therapists.
There are two
in
of
the
you,
bracket.
by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't do math.
Yeah.
I stick to the therapy thing. So if that happens, if his 50-50 bracket beats
wins
all of it,
if I win the Pod Therapy League,
you convert back to a religion of your choice. But it
Nick has to join a religion.
He has to join a religion because there's no greater proof that there is a God. I don't know who it is. Jacob's better off than me on this. His odds
What's
are better.
the one that like is around the Big Lebowski, like dudism?
Yeah,
something like that.
dudism.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can. I don't care what it is. I don't care. They're all equal. But whichever one Jacob picks.
I mean, I'd really
honestly,
like you to
is
be.
probably
I'd like you to get into Rasta. I think.
Oh, Rastafarianism?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I know nothing about it, but sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of weed. I believe.
Yeah.
I believe that's what I know about it. I've now told you what I know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it killed Bob Marley.
I believe it killed
did.
Bob Marley.
Yeah, because he refused regular like Western medical
That was it.
help
Yeah.
because of
But
his
not
religious
very
beliefs.
many religions have a soundtrack that kicks that much ass. I mean,
It's true.
Yeah, no woman, no cry. You know, Christianity can't compete. What do we got? You know,
I mean, you got the Southern Baptists.
they can.
You got
they
the black churches in the South.
We got some
Is
black
what
churches.
that's what you got music wise.
Yeah, that's true, and they keep all their toes. So, but look, I'm not here to judge. You could pick whatever you want. But I'm just saying, if he wins...
That is a bizarre one.
I think it's a good bet. I think it's a really good bet. Well, you guys rejected my henna tramp stamp. So,
I think... No. Don't say it like that.
Yeah.
I said I will not do a henna tramp stamp. I said I'll bet a real tattoo.
That's true.
Yeah.
He's here, Huckleberry.
Yeah.
And that's just my game.
Yeah.
I was just kidding, Jacob.
I said me and Jim could go right up head to head and we could just bet a tattoo.
You are... the fucking Doc Holliday of this podcast days.
That is not saying much.
that is
not saying much
at
at all.
Most true statement that's ever been uttered. I play for blood.
I don't even know what that means, but I'm sure that it's
It
true,
is
and I'm
true.
sure that it's not difficult to. I figure like if anybody else joined the show, they would become the Doc Holliday.
Doc Holliday from Tombstone, man.
Yeah.
You know,
I know who you're talking about. Yes.
I never actually saw Tombstone.
Oh, that's
Shut
good too.
up.
Yeah.
You saw Wyatt Earp?
I did.
Yeah. You saw the
What?
Kevin Costner one.
Yeah, I saw Wyatt
Oh.
Because I
And that one I think because Val Kilmer is Doc Holliday in Tombstone.
Yeah.
Is also a very who is it?
Josh Brolin.
Is it Brolin?
Isn't it Josh Brolin?
It's
in-
an all-star
in,
cast.
No,
It's
who's
in
the
Wyatt Earp.
Dennis or not Dennis Quaid?
Yeah, Dennis Quaid.
Bill
Dennis Quaid is in it.
Bill Paxton. And then shit.
All right, I know we have a show to do.
No,
but
fuck the show.
Hold
I don't
on,
care
we're all
anymore.
going to IMDb.
People can pay for their own therapy.
Yeah.
No, who's the older uncle or not uncle? The older brother of Wyatt Earp who has the deep voice, and he was in A Star Is Born. He's the older brother of Brad
Spell
Cooper.
Wyatt.
God, what's that guy's name? He always plays a cowboy.
Dennis Quaid was Doc Holliday.
No, it's not Dennis Quaid.
I'm looking at
I can't spell Wyatt.
Dennis Quaid was Doc Holliday.
I can't spell Earp either.
It's Val Kilmer.
No, that's Tombstone. In Wyatt Earp, Dennis Quaid was Doc Holliday.
I didn't see Wyatt Earp. That's dumb.
Nicholas Earp was Gene Hackman.
Yeah, Gene Hackman was
David
in that.
Andrews is in it.
Who
When
played
was
Doc
this
Holliday?
made?
Dennis Quaid.
When was this
Oh,
made?
that was Dennis Quaid?
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I think...
Why
It was
did-
about the same time as Tombstone.
Really? They
Yeah.
released 2 movies?
Oh, yeah.
And why would you even try to compete with
This
Tombstone?
was 1994.
Yeah.
Wow, that would have been right around then.
I liked that movie because Wyatt Earp in that
It's a good movie.
No, he seemed
refuse to
he
watch
was
that.
he was much more like I don't know, like he wasn't as happy go like he didn't smile
Buddy,
through the whole movie.
First off,
90,
you know,
why are
Tombstone
you
was 93,
comparing a
Wyatt
movie
Earp
you've
was
never
94.
seen? Let's start there.
I saw the first like 5 minutes of it.
That
I
is
didn't like it.
No,
Fucking dumb.
There are a lot of people.
I'm so angry
Jim,
at
I'm
you
gonna-
right now.
Jim,
That
I'm going to tell
movie
you this
is
right
so
now.
good.
Hold on. Battlefield Earth.
Oh, it's amazing.
Done.
No.
I'm listening to a podcast right now. They are talking about how the Hollywood division of Scientology almost went away entirely because Battlefield Earth was so bad.
And again, you're saying this is why the movie's bad? Because it chased
No,
away
no.
a cult out
I'm
of
giving you
Hollywood.
evidence
You're
of its
welcome.
badness.
Yeah.
That's not why it was bad. It was bad because it was bad.
Look,
Scientology's Hollywood division
I will not
almost
let you-
folded
I will
because
not
it
let
was
you
so bad.
divert from Nick's shaming to come back to me about an issue that was settled fucking years ago. Okay?
Oh yeah, I agree. It's settled.
Buddy, you need to
You're the only
watch
one who
Tombstone.
disagrees.
You're doing yourself a
Tombstone is
disservice.
great.
You're missing out.
But Jim, there are.
Damn it, that
there,
movie's
I remember
good.
at the time there were a lot of people talking about how Dennis Quaid's performance as Doc Holliday was better than Val Kilmer's.
can't be
It is very good.
It is very good.
It is very,
No,
very
he-
good.
He nailed it.
Yes,
in that movie.
I'm
Oh,
upset
he was
that
really
you're
good.
even saying that.
Tombstone
Have you
is
seen it?
great.
No.
Well, what the
I don't need to. I don't need to.
Then I don't need to see
I'm like,
Tombstone.
oh, I've seen the Mona Lisa, but have you seen a Dilbert comic? I don't fucking care. But Dilbert's a really good comic. It doesn't compare to Mona fucking Lisa.
I think you're
Tombstone is
I
one
think
of
you
the
need to
greatest.
be comparing like Mona Lisa to
Yeah.
like a Rembrandt.
Yeah, settle down.
Buddy,
Yeah,
Tombstone
that's-
is considered one of the best movies. And I didn't even know that Wyatt Earp was a fucking movie until you guys just said that. That's not even a thing. Tombstone is in the pantheon of greatest films.
Tombstone's a very good Western
It is up
movie.
there. It is the best film that Val Kilmer ever made. It's not even close. He's had some great films. I love Top Secret. There's a lot of really good films. There's no question that is his finest movie. It's a thing he will forever be
There's
remembered
no
for.
question.
I think it's the best film Kurt Russell ever made. I don't deny that. Bill Paxton, it's not his best role in any movie. But he's a part of a legacy. I liked Bill Paxton a lot in Apollo 13. That was a good movie.
Oh yeah, he was good in that.
I liked that.
He was good in that.
But yeah, I'm upset that you haven't seen it. And oh my God.
I'm happy to upset
There's just so much pop culture that even references that. I mean, I've referenced it 3 times in this show and like looking at you thinking you get it and you don't even get it. Do you catch references to it just because you've lived in America and people like, I'm here, Huckleberry, and that's just my game. Like, if you never
I'm
heard-
sorry, I wasn't listening. What?
Oh, buddy. Oh, man, I don't know if our friendship can survive this. To be honest with you, it's a pretty dark day.
All right.
It's a pretty dark day.
I'm just looking at all of the better movies that Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer have done.
Oh, name one. Kurt Russell, I might be open to something.
Okay, I'm
Val
on Kurt
Kilmer?
Russell right now. We got Big Trouble in Little China.
Ooh, shit.
We've got the Escape movies, Escape from L.A. and
those
Escape
are,
from New York.
Those are not good.
Those are great.
They were entertaining.
Well, what
They're
about
not great.
what about the
Let's see. Stargate was very popular.
I liked Stargate.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Big Trouble is the only one that's even arguable, and only because it's a cult classic.
Let's see.
What's the-
Poseidon, that was a good one.
Eh,
Grindhouse
Poseidon's
and Death
garbage.
Proof.
Those both
Both very, very good.
No.
Furious 7.
Nope.
Sorry. I'm thinking that's the car movie. He was in that too. But what I was thinking of was the Hateful Eight.
Hateful Eight? That was the
Hateful
one I was
Eight, I
thinking.
heard- it
Hateful
was
Eight
very
is
good.
phenomenal.
I haven't seen
Hateful Eight kills your argument right there.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen it. So
Hateful
haven't
Eight.
seen-
Hateful
Oh.
Eight
that's the
is
one that
is-
Tarantino filmed in like some weird 8mm or something like that. I heard
it's
something in a
huge.
filming thing
Yeah.
was different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went and saw it in the huge whatever that dimension
IMAX?
is.
IMAX?
It's not IMAX, but it's larger than regular film.
Drive-in?
Let's see. Now we're going over to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's in that as well.
I haven't seen that, but that's another one that I think
Also very
picked
good.
up Oscars, didn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Speaking of Oscars, people were talking about the Oscars. The Oscars happened last week.
Yep.
And I've been watching a couple of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture.
Everything
Everywhere All at Once.
I
won.
loved it.
I
loved that
really
movie.
enjoyed it. I am now almost through. I had to stop it to come here.
Okay, it is a long movie.
No. I've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, you mean
The movie that I'm about to talk about, though, I stopped with about half an hour left.
I'll bet I know what it is.
Titanic?
All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
really want to see that one. Too.
It is perfect.
Really?
It's perfect.
That's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
It is a World War I movie told from the perspective of the enlisted men on the German side.
Wow.
Oh. Is that what the original was too?
I believe so.
The book. Yeah, I read the book in high school.
Hmm.
But yeah.
It may not be. I don't know. But I believe the original movie was that as well. I'm not sure. But this won for Best Foreign Language Movie, but it is dubbed in English.
So you said you watched halfway through.
More than halfway through. I'm almost at the end.
So the main character is a German soldier.
The main characters are German
soldiers, and
German
you're
enlisted
about
men.
halfway through.
I'm more than halfway. I'm almost done.
Should we tell him the Germans lose? Because I think he's gonna.
Wait, what?
I got news for you. It's super clear in this movie that the Germans lose.
Oh, okay. Okay.
There's not a lot of questions.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Jesus. You can't just throw out Oscar nods and then, just tell people how it's going to end.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how it's going to end,
Okay.
but it's not looking good for them.
Not looking real joyful.
No.
Okay, so it's not so quiet on the Western Front. I'm going to have to watch that then. Yeah, so I
It
keep
is-
seeing that in my Netflix
It
queue. and I just
really,
don't
as
click
far
on
as I can tell, it is a perfect movie.
Wow.
It describes the horrors and the
And you've seen Cats
and
the musical.
I have. Yeah.
Wow.
It like the horror of war, the pointlessness of it, the unnecessariness of it, how the
War fight. Yeah.
the two different classes. You have the ruling class and the enlisted men, and the ruling class are literally miles away listening to it. They can't even see what's
Wow.
happening.
Jesus.
And and there are parts of the film where people are just going into the German high command saying, we have to accept this armistice that France is offering us because we're losing, tens of thousands of people every day.
Jeez.
We're losing
Wow.
over 100,000 people every week at this point, at this point in the theater.
Wow.
And them saying, no, this is too embarrassing to us.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Wow.
It is powerful. It's great.
Jeez.
You talk about mental health tie-ins.
Wow.
It focuses.
Ooh, there you go. We can review the movie.
on the mental health of the enlisted men. Participating in trench warfare.
Man.
The one of the main characters he forges his mother's signature on his enlistment papers.
Wow.
Because he was full of such patriotic vigor.
Oh my gosh.
So he enlisted without his parents' permission. He was 17 years old, and then it shows his journey.
Jeez.
And you're like, from literally day one of being deployed, he's just changed instantly.
Oh man, I can't wait to watch this.
Wow.
That's a good
Yeah.
recommendation.
That'll be good.
It's
Yeah.
I recommend it
I
very
remember
highly.
the book being really
It is,
moving, so-
it's World War One.
Yeah.
It is as violent as World War One.
Damn.
So keep that in mind as you're settling in to watch it.
Ugh, well, I probably will. So speaking of movie reviews, on patreon.com/therapy, main listeners, every Monday we've been releasing new content for nigh several months.
Oh,
So
The Doors.
Lots of great stuff coming out.
Val Kilmer, The Doors. That's better.
Okay.
He's Jim Morrison in the Doors movie.
Yeah, that's right.
And Jim Morrison is
The
a
lead singer of The Doors.
musician.
Yes.
Yeah. Not a carpenter, not a house builder.
No.
Got it.
Correct.
Yeah, you're thinking of Jesus.
I probably was.
Yeah.
I would like to see Val Kilmer as Jesus, to be honest.
All right,
with
all
you.
right. Here's what I want. If
All
my
right, all
if
right.
my
Back to the
bracket
bet.
wins,
Yeah, if your
my
bracket
bracket wins
wins.
the whole thing, I don't want
Yeah.
Nick to take up a religion.
Oh.
I want Jim to publicly denounce religion.
All right, I think it's both. I think it's both. He picks
I
one,
want Jim
and
to
I
denounce
rescind.
his faith.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'm
I
fine with
honestly
that.
think it's fair. Even though
Look,
weirdly,
hold on.
the same
If you're-
miracle is winning you to the faith and ruining mine.
No. Listen.
We just trade places. man.
Listen.
It's fine.
If you're willing to take the bet, just do it now.
Okay. Wait, what? Oh, because if you're willing to take
Nick,
the bet,
you're willing to take the
obviously you
bet.
don't
You're
care.
Back him into a corner, Nick.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
gonna come out biting.
There's no
He's
way
gonna
around
bite.
this. That's true.
All right.
We should probably answer some questions, but don't
Oh, but-
forget therapy or patreon.com/therapy. You just released a review of 28 Days Later, The movie about
28 Days.
Oh, that's the zombie one, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Yep.
Thanks. 28 Days.
A fine film, by the way.
Sandra Bullock gets bitten by a zombie, I believe,
Yeah,
in
that's it.
Britain.
Yeah.
And the world apocalypse, something on a monkey. No,
Yeah.
so it's 28 Days with Sandra Bullock, the one where she goes to rehab.
Yes.
And that is a great movie.
It is a great,
Especially
it is
for
actually
like
a really good movie.
like showing what alcoholism looks like, because like it she does a great job, I think,
Yeah.
depicting the chaos of it, getting help. Isn't that guy from Lord of the Rings also in there?
Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mortensen,
Yep,
yeah.
he was in it.
It's a good cast. I
Yeah.
don't know this movie. I haven't seen this.
Oh,
It's a
yeah,
good watch. That's a good
It is
one.
pretty good. And they actually do a pretty decent job of displaying what
Rehab looks
Rehab
like.
actually looks
I,
like.
Oh,
I like
nice.
that
Yeah,
depiction too.
yeah. So
Really good movie.
I mean, there's a couple things which I talk about in there, some issues that I had with it. They were just kind of, the main thing was Steve Buscemi was the counselor.
Oh yeah, and that would
And-
never be allowed.
No, they would.
No.
No one would ever
Ever
allow
hire
him to
Steve
be a
Buscemi.
counselor. But his tactics were just stupid.
Yeah, well, it's
Just
Steve Buscemi.
absolutely terrible.
That's why you don't hire
Like,
Steve Buscemi.
yeah,
So check that out. Patreon.com/therapy.
you get what you pay for.
Other items that you'll find up there. Remember that whenever you sign up at the patreon.com/therapy, just go to the starting block. There's like a post up there. It's pinned to the top. It's a directory of all the content we've ever put up there. Deep dives, skill shares, research, rants, book reviews, book clubs, tons and tons of content.
Some of it's even listenable.
Some. But remember also, whenever you sign up,
Vocal minority.
all of this is available on your podcast app. The same thing you're listening to us right now on. Once you sign up, you click one button, the code pops into your app, you're done. Now all that extra content comes to you a day early, unedited, ad-free, and you get all the bonus
Even
content.
Nick could do it.
Even
He
Nick
won't,
figured it out.
but he could.
Yeah. Shut up, Nick.
I-
Nope. Jacob already plugged it. I'm not letting you ruin
Okay.
this.
Also,
You're
we have a
terrible
new-
at ads.
We have a
wasn't
new
able to
physical
figure that
mail
out.
address.
Physical.
Oh,
mail.
We have a new.
Yes.
So if you're going to ship us
Mail.
something, ship it to Pod Therapy, 4262 Blue Diamond Road, Suite 102-318, Las Vegas, Nevada 89139. I would repeat that, but we're on a podcast, so you can rewind it and listen to me say it again.
Hit back 30 seconds.
So they
now.
don't have to say in care of Ice Cream
Nope.
Social anymore. Oh, wow.
I'll put you on the address.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Look at
That's
that.
legitimate. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. All right. So,
Wow.
yeah, send us stuff. Don't send money. We won't get it. Jacob will get
Send
that
money.
first. And don't send fucking iPads ever again.
Send iPads and cash.
All right. We got
And
some
I will
questions.
open it on the show in front of Jim. It'll make him really mad. It's great.
Avoiding burnout from Anonymous. Hello, guys. I'm such a huge fan of Pod Therapy. I started listening to it to improve my English, but you guys did more than that. I can't thank you enough. That's a great reason to listen.
Just trying to
the
think
show.
of what words we've taught him.
I know. This is not a great place to learn anything. I can't thank you enough for how much you've made me deal with the hardships in my life. Thank you all for your hard work. I really, truly appreciate it. This is my first time asking, but I hope others can relate to what I'm going through, like I did with the previous episodes. Feel free to cut out the question if you need to. Nope, we don't edit anything. So here we go. Throughout the week, I tend to overwork and drain myself mentally and physically without realizing until I get overwhelmed and crash to the point where I can't get out of bed, so I just rest and recharge for a couple of days, just to repeat the cycle again. But the thing is, I can't afford to stay in bed for days, not to mention the anxiety and pressure I go through because of not doing anything. So, in order to help with that, my friend recommended forcing myself to take scheduled breaks. I've been applying that for a while now. However, it feels like I'm not resting efficiently, nor does it feel like the cycle is improving. So, all I would like to know is, are there any specific ways to assure restful, efficient breaks? And do you guys have any tips on how to feel less anxious and guilty when my body breaks down? Thanks. Love the show. Anonymous.
Okay.
This is a really good question.
Yeah.
It is.
So we overwork. We tend to get drained.
Mhm.
That's what the writer's talking about, mentally and physically.
Sure.
Without realizing it, we get overwhelmed and then we just crash.
Yeah.
And then we crash and now we're out for days just resting, recuperating. Then there's a spiral of shame and guilt. And now the writer's trying to do the thing with like pacing this.
Trying to do some self-care.
Yeah, maybe half a day on, half a day off. Like trying to balance it so we don't have the crash because you've just gone too hard. Now you hit your knees. Which is, I mean, that is a good style, I would say.
So I think part of this would be to take a look at what are you doing during your off time, right? So when you are taking those breaks, is it just you sitting around not doing anything, or are you actively involved?
Yeah.
Because resting or kind of checking out from work doesn't mean that you just sit and not do anything.
Yeah.
It's kind of your opportunity to do something you want to do, not something you have to do. So number one, I think the first thing I would include would be, if use that time for hobbies, things that you really want to do, or maybe even things that you have always wanted to but never started. Learning a new skill, something like that. If there's always wanted to learn how to play piano, great, cool. That's a great time to do that.
Yeah.
But occupying that with something other than just sitting or sleeping, right? Because sometimes people will do that.
It's hard, especially whenever you hear about people that are like, oh, I'm trying to rest, but I'm not resting, right? Which I hear about all the time. People like, I sleep, but like whatever, I'm not waking up well rested and like I'm still drained. And man, I don't know what to say about that. Like, I mean, it makes me wonder if they should do like a sleep study or something if they're noticing that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and part of it could be too, just like also just being able to not think about work and like actually checking out like completely.
Yeah.
Did you ever dream
Meditation
about work?
helped me with that a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Meditation helped me with that a lot.
Hold the phone.
I'd be able to turn work
meditate?
off. Oh, sure.
How long has this been going on?
Longer than I've known you.
What the?
Yeah.
We're
Never
6 years
told
into
us?
this, and now
I feel like it's come up before.
It has absolutely not.
I'm also not like an expert or really a proponent of it. I know I've talked about meditation stuff on this
Nope.
before. I definitely
We've even
have.
had questions on it.
I
Never come
definitely
up.
have.
Tell us what you do. What's your form of meditation?
It's really just focusing.
Okay.
It's focused mind clearing is
Okay.
what I really that's what I really work on. That's what I choose to make my meditation about.
So the goal is to clear your mind.
That's right.
By thinking of almost nothing.
Right.
That's so hard to do.
My method is I will start with like picturing usually a catastrophic event, usually a fire
Okay.
that is actively burning through my mind.
Oh, wow.
And like incinerating and obliviating. No, that's not a word.
Incinerating, I like.
Incinerating, annihilating.
There it
There you
is.
go. I'm thinking of like obliviate with antimatter stuff. That's a different thing though. But yeah, like it completely incinerating and destroying kind of active thoughts in my mind.
Interesting.
Mhm.
wow.
So you'll do that like before sleeping or just sometimes
I used to
sit
do it
down
kind of
and
regularly,
just purge.
and now I do it
Wow.
kind of as I need to. I need to get back to doing it more regularly.
I like the idea of a ritualed way to enter rest.
do you-
I like that a lot.
Do you realize what just happened?
Oh, did we?
Yeah, it's fine.
Just been life coach.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, what's weird
in
is
the face.
we fucking legitimately just did.
We did.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I should swipe my card or something.
Yeah.
Can't just walk out of here for free on that one. I got told. Shit.
Sapphire, Nick's guest, is cracking up.
Sapphire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's just keep giving this person stripper names. That
Yeah.
sounds really good. Did you like that one, Candy Cane? It's nice. That's a good one. Told you there was a life
It's Christmas
coach jingle.
themed.
Cinnamon.
Wow.
All right. Where were we at?
How was that, Bubbles?
Yeah, Bubbles. So I love that idea. First off, and that's a great
Yeah,
illustration of what mindfulness is and what
Yeah.
meditation is. But Ryder, I like also this idea of a ritual inauguration of restfulness, which I like that you, like what Jacob's talking about,
A
like,
wind down.
yes, like a specific place, maybe a specific like music or background you're putting on, lighting a specific candle, getting senses engaged. I think is really, really huge. Anything that is like putting cold water in your face, changing clothes, whatever that is. But then that mindfulness ritual, doing something like a grounding exercise that kind of brings you to the now, that really helps. I think just kind of like, I don't know, like sort of purge the energy that you were carrying throughout the day that was getting you into everything.
I mean, and this is also really important for any of our listeners that are becoming therapists.
Yeah.
'Cause
Or
this
life
is-
coaches.
Or
Or
life
apparently
coaches.
podcast audio.
Because this is incredibly important. Avoiding burnout, because this is like the number one reason why therapists don't last long.
Yeah.
There's the ones who can separate work from their actual life can do this for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those who can't don't last more than 5 years.
Right.
And then they find something else to do
I mean,
because they can't separate the two.
I try really hard to keep my house as a no work area.
yes.
When it comes to like doing shows, what have you, in town. I get home, and by the time I get home, it's not. I'm not worried about it, or I'm not thinking about it, or whatever. It's once I get home, that's a 9 to 5 problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why you
I'm
never
outside
invite
of,
me over?
I'm outside of 9 to 5 right now.
Okay.
No, that's not why I
I'm
don't
a
invite
work
you over.
friend. Is that
No,
There's
that's not.
other
because
reasons.
I'm a work friend?
That's not why at all.
Okay.
No.
Feels like that's what it is.
Uh,
I get it. He sees me, he's like, oh,
but no, like SJ will yell at
friends
me,
at work.
jokingly at this point. But for a
Yeah.
while, she would get actively mad at me. My wife would get actively angry with me because I would get home from shows, and every night she says something along the lines of, "How were shows? How was work? How was everything?" And my answer is almost always, "Great, fine."
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fine.
And I'm not lying.
Which is also why your jingle starts with, yeah, it's fine.
I'm not lying about it.
Yeah.
It is that's kind of where I've gotten that too. It is like I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fine.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Even if there's a problem, I'll deal with it when I get there tomorrow. And you know what? That's a problem at work. That's a work problem. That's
I
not
like
that's
that.
not even a my problem. That's a work problem.
Yep.
Like I'll deal with it. It'll get dealt with, or it won't. And worst case scenario, it won't get dealt with. And who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
I mean,
that.
right sizing these things, I think, is huge.
I used to have a boss that would tell me, because I would kind of stress every once in a while about like emergencies or things. And he's like, okay, if no one's dead, nothing's on fire,
Yeah.
and it's not going to make the news, it can wait until tomorrow.
Yep.
I was like, oh, okay.
Hmm.
He's like, we can fix everything else.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Now a couple other things that I would also kind of mention here too. I'll get on my soapbox that I usually do. Exercise.
Oh, that.
That's always my go-to
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of this. I mean, dealing with stress, being able to check out. Exercise is very important. Also, getting outside,
Oh, yeah.
being outdoors
Yeah.
can
Change
be
of
very
scenery.
helpful.
Mhm.
So as you're taking these little breaks, one thing that would be kind of maybe a good idea or something to consider is like use those breaks to get outside.
Mm.
So if you're going to walk away from your desk or whatever at work, take 15 minutes, go outside, go for a walk.
Especially if you're doing little brain breaks. Like, I think, and I get the vibe that that's what the writer's talking
Yeah.
about. Like, in the middle of maybe like working
Yeah.
from home, and then it's like, oh, I've been at this for 2 hours. Let's take a small break. That way I don't crash hard later.
Mhm.
If you're going to do that, I love geographical change. Like,
Yep.
walk out of the house, go do a thing, drive. Like, for me, I work from home, and like, if I ever get an open hour or something like that, I will always try to leave the house because I work from home. And so, like, I want to get out of that space. It isn't fun for me to like watch a show or play a game or listen to anything.
Right.
Like I get in my car, I will go get coffee or go to a park and just
Mhm.
walk for 10 minutes or just.
Oh, and we
something to
talked
get
about
away.
it during COVID too. If you can, if you are working from home, if you're going to have a designated work area
Right.
in your home, that when you leave that area, work doesn't happen outside of that area.
Right.
That can be helpful as well.
That way you can escape it.
Yep.
I like that a lot. Some good answers, guys. Really
Yeah,
good job.
I think we
everybody.
kind of knocked that one out
I
of the
think
park.
we just finished it.
Yeah.
I think that's what that is.
We basically fixed that writer.
I think
Yeah.
that's what that is.
Yeah.
So congratulations. You can speak English and rest.
Yeah.
That's the pod therapy guarantee.
Now all we have to do is feed this person.
That's what we did.
Yeah. If we feed this person, we're like their parent.
Remember when we started the show and we were like, by the end of this, mental health will reign supreme and people will only speak English. It was weird that those were our goals.
It's on the flag and everything.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's on the flag. I like that we made that pod therapy flag.
Yeah.
It doesn't get enough airtime.
I feel like we're on an aircraft carrier with a big mission accomplished.
Yeah.
thing
We're all in
behind
flight
us.
suits.
Yeah.
In the
We
sense
look
that
good.
there's no irony
Yeah.
to that. Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. I agree with that.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Totally
It was
there.
a
We all have
compliment.
just the right amount of gray hair.
That's the sideburns.
Yeah.
We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to discuss shadow people. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
They prefer to be called skinwalkers.
I believe it.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Judy Schneider, Leon Kassab, Carolyn Albert, Sammy Scoop, Sarah Smith, Dr.
I know her.
Scoop, Mike Helm, Darren Cunningham, and Matt and Lisa Tangeman. If you'd like to sponsor the show, become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. We got actually a lot of trivia questions coming in.
Oh, yeah, we got some good stuff coming through.
This one sent to us by Alec.
Ooh. Alec, the astrophysicist.
Yeah, this one, our theme today is particle physics.
Oh, I'm going to crush this shit.
To tell you how bad, to give you an idea how badly I'm going to do here.
Oh,
When I was writing this, I misspelled particle.
Oh, yeah.
So
This is all me, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
What letter does physics start with, Jim?
F.
There you go.
Idiot. All right. Question number 1. The standard model of particle physics consists of 3 generations of quarks,
True.
3 generations of leptons,
True.
and bosons.
Yep.
Which of the following particles are leptons?
Oh, shit.
Pick all that apply.
Oh, God
They're
damn
the ones
it.
that have the gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah,
No.
right,
Yeah.
right.
And if you catch one,
Leptons.
they grant a wish.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I believe that's how it is.
A-
A pot of gold.
Yeah.
A, electron. B, up. C, top. D, muon.
I consider
M-U-O-N.
myself a top.
And E, tau neutrino.
Fuck.
Oh, Mariah
All right,
is
so-
cracking up.
Yeah.
Right.
All I want
I feel like
for
Mariah knows this. Do you know this?
Christmas
Oh,
She
okay.
does not.
I couldn't tell if the laughing was like, I know this so well and they're not
It'd
going
be
to know
great
it.
if she avoided getting on mic for the entire Patreon, all of that talk, the question, but she jumps on the fucking lepton question
Yeah.
and just slam dunks it and then walks away.
She's like, a lepton? Oh, yeah. That's number 48 on the
Idiots.
periodic table.
All right, so
Okay.
which of these is a lepton?
Yeah, and a lot of
An
the-
electron, up, top, muon,
Yep.
and
Tau neutrino.
tau neutrino.
All right. But I happen to know this, but I will go first.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
The lepton is the award given to Pixar for the movie Up. So I will go with Up.
Okay.
Yep.
And logic
I'm
is
gonna
really
go.
good.
I'm gonna go with D and E.
you're picking both.
Yes. Well, it says pick
This
all
is
that apply.
Superposition.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, now that makes me mad. All right. I don't think it's a neutrino because I feel like that's a particle, though it goes through shit, so maybe it's not a
Don't
particle.
try to.
Up is a quark, I think. No, wait. Strange is a quark. Fuck me. Up is a quark. Lepton. I think electrons are a lepton. I think that's true.
Great. Jim says electrons.
Yeah, I just want electrons.
Moving on.
Okay.
And I kind of want muons. I want electron and muon.
Fine.
Okay. Jim and I tie because it's A, D, and E.
Oh, you each got
So-
one.
So
No, we each got 2.
2.
He
Oh, you
got
each got
A
2.
and D. I got D and E.
I said neutrino too.
Oh.
No, you didn't.
Mariah,
No, you didn't say neutrino.
you don't want to bail me
No.
out. Damn it.
You know what? And for trying to lie, I'm taking away a point.
God
Yep.
damn it.
Nick's
All right.
now 2-1.
Ah, shit.
All right. We're gonna save the rest of these for later.
That's fine.
Okay.
Shadow people from Anonymous. Hi, guys. I know Jim will love this, but I was getting mental health advice off TikTok the other day and came across a lot of people talking about shadow work. I figured it was fringe stuff until I did a quick Google search and saw that it actually came from Jung. I have a few questions concerning this. What do you think about shadow work? 2. Since the subconscious is such a huge part of the theory, does it somehow combat against CBT, since CBT ignores anything to do with subconscious? Loved the deep dive, by the way. Or maybe they just aren't in the same domain? And number 3, how do you choose preferred methods of therapy? How do you decide between CBT versus ACT versus family systems versus shadow work? In my honest opinion, the further you read down that sentence, the more woo-y the ideas become. I'm very much a mild hobbyist and likely have a poor understanding of all this. I definitely hope to not cause offense to any branch of psychotherapy. What I'm trying to say is that I am dumb, and would greatly appreciate any input y'all would like to share. Hugs for days, Anonymous.
Okay.
It is
So, I wonder-
interesting the gang violence lately that is surrounding this debate between the psychodynamicists all of a sudden resurging in their hatred for CBT.
That
I've gotten,
word interesting
deeper
is
into
doing
this.
some really heavy lifting
Oh,
in that
dude.
sentence.
It's just weird. It's like this weird tribalism that I've stumbled upon recently. I'm like, whoa, what's up with this?
It is interesting though because it feels like when I was in graduate school, it was almost kind of like a joke, psychoanalysis,
Yeah, it felt outdated.
psychodynamics, because
Yeah.
it was it was taught to us as in oh, this is what they used to, no one does this anymore.
Right,
This
that is a school by school phenomenon.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But my
then
school
now,
did that too, yeah.
But then now it's I know people
Right.
who've gone to school for that.
Right,
Who
right.
went back to school
Oh,
to
yeah.
learn how to do it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
so,
the new hotness.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah. So okay, let's take a beat to explain the big picture. So there are in psychotherapy, you have all these different theories or approaches. So most of you have heard of Sigmund Freud, who's the father of psychoanalysis. And he popularized also the general concept of talk therapy. He was a healthcare provider, and he said, hey, people are experiencing these real life ailments, but instead of poking them, prodding them, or giving them things, though he did enjoy giving people cocaine, he had this idea that, okay, what if we
He's a
talked
giver.
through it, and if that could change the outcome? Can their health improve? Can their experience improve with nothing more than talk? And so his first method was something called psychoanalysis, and that method basically said, hey, imagine that human beings' behaviors are like a volcano. And so there's this visible part of the volcano. We can see the top part where the lava shoots out. But beneath that is this magma, and that's beneath the surface. It's invisible to you, but that's really the cause. Everything you're seeing on the top is the cause of the stuff beneath the surface. So he was very interested in this idea of the subconscious. And he popularized a lot of the words and terms that we use. And a lot of you have heard of things like his idea of ego, right? It's his word. Id, which is beneath the ego, more of the subconscious, like an instinctive self. And then the super ego, which is like this meta-narrative self that has religiosity and big picture things. So a lot of his theory is that. Jung is somebody who kind of comes from that school of thought. And Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he create depth psychology?
You're wrong.
That feels right.
I don't know.
Leptons or electrons.
I don't know.
Electrons or leptons. But
Jasmine,
anyway,
do you know? No.
Jasmine refuses to participate. So Jung had a lot of
And no, she doesn't
interesting
know.
approaches that I think unpacked greater levels of psychoanalysis. Jung did a lot of work with anima, instincts, kind of component of self, and he kind of did a lot of work in analyzing that and breaking it down. He came up with ideas of story archetyping, and one of these ideas is shadow self. This idea of like you have an unconscious mind, an unconscious identity, and this is projected in your life. And becoming more aware of that helps you explain behaviors that you're doing. And that, again, going back to classic psychoanalysis, it's about listening to and interacting with your unconscious, your subconscious, somehow bringing that to the surface and engaging with it. So the turf war, go ahead.
No, I'm going to add later. Go ahead. Keep
Okay.
going.
So when these guys were coming up, you had psychoanalysis, which was the dominant way of doing things for a long time. And you had a lot of other theorists that also emerged. You had Alfred Adler came up with family, it was individual psychology. You had like Gestalt therapy with Fritz Perls. You had the great Carl Rogers coming up with his method, more person-centered therapy. All these different approaches that had different ways of explaining the problem. You had, Rhett, you had Albert Ellis. Like if you just go into any textbook, you're going to see all these different ways of thinking. And each of them it becomes a theory whenever it can say, here's the way I see the problem. Here's a method to deal with that problem. And here's what I think a solution would be. Here's what success looks like. When it can kind of combine all three of those, now it's got a whole framework that a therapist can operate from. So a psychoanalyst is kind of taking the approach of the problem has to do with subconscious components of self. I'm going to elicit a better understanding of that using a method called free association. So whenever you close your eyes and you think of Sigmund Freud, you think of the patient sitting on the chase couch looking at the wall away from Freud sitting behind that person with a notepad and a pen. That method is called free association, where the therapist just listens with minor promptings, and the patient is encouraged to just talk about anything. Dreams are very important. Life, thoughts, memories, anything at all. And the therapist will prompt direction, but for the most part, the person's just talking about literally anything at all. And dream analysis is a very important part of this, which Jung was very interested in as well, because they believed that this is where the unconscious had its way, where it was manifesting thoughts. And so dream interpretation was a big part of this too. Anyway, this is all just a history lesson about psychotherapy. When you start pivoting into kind of, I don't want to differentiate these as modern versus antique. That's not accurate. There are many therapists that practice psychoanalysis today. Jung is still as popular as ever. And so it's not appropriate to describe this as like, oh, there's real therapists and there's like old therapists. That's not the case. But whenever you had kind of this departure from the psychoanalytic traditions, I think especially with CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, Rhett, a lot of those things, they started focusing on rationality, on isn't it interesting how humans seem to suffer when they believe false things? That when their perspective is false, wrong-sized, distorted, they tend to have bad reactions to things. And that was the way they looked at the problem. They said the problem is not so much a subconscious reality, the problem is a perspective reality. And that's interesting, and that could be formed through a variety of things. But if we can tackle that, we can relieve the symptoms. This is why cognitive behavioral therapy says, hey, do you feel anxious right now, don't you? Yeah, I'm really scared. I'm going to lose my job and I'm going to become homeless and all these bad things. Okay, let's look at that perspective. Why do you imagine this catastrophe is going to happen? Are you wrong-sizing that? Are you seeing this as imminently threatening to you? And is your brain perceiving that or becoming too alert? So CBT, RET, a lot of those other theories were about kind of helping the person slow down their analysis of the problem, ask logical questions, and kind of right-size or reframe the situation that they're facing. The writer says, and I think this comes mostly from the internet, that CBT believing folks are like anti those kind of classical theories, which are usually the shorthand word for like Freud and Jung and neoclassicalism is psychodynamics, which bothers me a little bit because when I was in grad school, psychodynamic didn't exclusively refer to that. It just referred to therapy that was trying. You know, that was what psychodynamic meant whenever I was turning pages in textbooks. But today, psychodynamics usually refers to psychoanalysis, Jung, that kind of stuff. So I had a therapist I was talking to recently about this, and they were telling me that they believed in psychodynamics. I was like, that's fantastic. It's really cool. And they were very proud of it. And they were like, yeah, you know, I'm not like these CBT people, you know, that I believe in soul. I believe that therapy has to have soul to it. And I was like, are we about to get down with the funk? Yeah, I was like, where are we going with this? Like, are you breaking into some Aretha Franklin?
Galore. Yeah.
chain. Like, where the fuck are we going with this? So, like, you know, but they were like, no, I believe in, and they were trying to explain to me, like, the golden shadow and, like, this idea of, like, finding the self. And I was like, that's awesome. Great. I don't care.
Why you got to shit on CBT?
Why do I care?
So,
yeah, it doesn't have to be a turf war.
All right, so there's 3 questions here. Number 1, what do you think about shadow work? Number 2 sounds like, is it really consistent or does it fight against CBT? Then number 3, how do you choose a preferred method? So I guess as far as shadow work, I'm not really an expert on that, so I don't really have a really strong opinion on it. But I think there's components of it that, I mean, even in CBT, we kind of talk about to some degree, like not necessarily in like how do we deal with it or what does it mean, but like the idea that there's a part of you that is kind of the part that you keep hidden. Right. That's relatively benign. Like it's not something that, in the sense that it's not anything that different therapists would argue about.
Right.
Everybody would pretty much agree.
Right.
The reason why you keep it hidden may be different. Some people may say it's because of your subconscious. Other people may say it's, well, because you're not even aware of it.
Sure.
Or it may be because emotions, you're ashamed of it, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But that's not really anything that anybody would disagree with.
What's weird to me is this, the thing that's annoying me in this weird sudden turf war between like this, and I'm gonna be honest with you, psychodynamics friends, you're starting it. Like I don't think there is another tribe. Like I don't see another tribe called the CBT tribe. I really don't. CBT is cutlery.
Psychodynamics.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there's the life coaching. He throws stones to start the trouble. See, he's just throwing Molotovs into the fight. He doesn't give a shit. He just wants a ride.
Screw those people.
Yeah, he's just starting the beef.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah, CBT is a thing. It's a
tattoos over here.
It's a fork in the drawer. It's a tool in the box. Like I don't. It's not a perspective. I don't look at CBT like, no, I believe in it. Like it's how I am. It's how I practice. Like
I would agree. I don't think
Phillips head screwdriver. Like I use it when I need it.
I don't see a whole lot of therapists who use CBT.
I don't as an identity.
Well,
like,
yeah, as
professional
like
identity.
as like this is who I am.
No.
This is. Yeah,
well, and that's what bothers me about shadow work. Like shadow work, as you said, is to elicit an understanding that's invisible to the conscious self. So there's aspects of yourself that you're in denial about, aspects of yourself you don't understand. It's discussing with your subconscious to identify these areas of self. Fine. I just consider that insight. Like, I mean, shadow work sounds way sexier than just doing therapy and just calling it like discussion, insight, and exploration of self. I just think that's natural therapy. No matter what your background is, I think that's what you're just doing.
Yeah.
CBT is a specific tool that you should specifically use for specific problems. Ergo, here's an example. I have chronic anxiety. If I'm dealing with an anxiety episode because something startled me and I'm triggered and like I'm terrified that like one of my children's in danger, something bad's happening, like one of the many random triggers that can happen to me, sitting me down and being like, let's explore unconscious components of self that you haven't fully, grappled with yet, Jim. I can't even fucking do that because right now I'm shaking in fear with this idea that a person I love is in danger for an irrational reason. We're not going to do deep dives on fucking Jim right now.
Yeah,
I need to be talked down.
Not with that attitude, you're not.
So in
right.
5 years, you can feel better.
Right. And so that's where I just think a lot of this is a categorical mistake. And whenever I've been listening lately to like the psychodynamic tribe standing up and be like, I don't do CBT. It's a choice. You got to pick this side or that side. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no, it isn't. Like, you can just use these things. Like, there's no exclusivity rule. Like, no, you got to pick a team. Like, no, you fucking don't. Like, do inside work. Call it shadow work. It sounds sexy as hell. And then also be competent and know how to use another tool if the situation demands it. Because whenever you just like have this religious devotion to a particular theory rather than a solution-focused approach to fucking anything, then you become one of those therapists that get terrible reviews that people complain about, that they're like, I was telling you about my problem and you kept telling me what my real problem was and not actually listening to me. So I fired you and got another therapist that actually helped me solve the problem and I got on with my life.
Yeah.
And that was the criticism of psychoanalysis back whenever Freud was in vogue and Jung as well, was that it kind of aimlessly went on for 18 months at a time. And yes, it produced results, but it was not brief. It was expensive. It lasted a long time. It wasn't directive, right? And so, like, there's a big debate about different theories. And look, I'm not here to champion any one. I think that all the research we've ever seen shows that all the theories are equally effective because therapy works. It doesn't matter which approach you're using, you will get results. But some methods are faster, right? Like, I can screw in a Phillips head screw with the tip of my knife blade or a Phillips head screwdriver. They'll both get it done. The Phillips head screwdriver get done faster. And that's how I think of theories, too. I just think some of them work.
And it won't tear up the tip of your knife blade.
It will not ruin the tip of your knife blade, too.
Yeah.
So there's no beef. It's just this silly, weird turf war that I don't understand.
And I guess the last question, how do you choose a preferred method of therapy? So I guess to understand that, Ryder, I would need to understand, like, are you a therapist or somebody who's becoming a therapist, or are you somebody who's going to be in therapy?
Right.
Because if you're going to be somebody in therapy, you don't really have a whole
Nick,
lot of...
Buddy, this happens to me every day. And like, I'm good with it because at the end of the day, if somebody wants to read about therapy and get excited about it, and they'll come in and say, yeah, I'm really excited about this theory. I'd like to use this theory. And I'm like, great. Like, let's do that. That's cool. But like, yeah, it is a little awkward when a lot of people are kind of coming in. They're like, I read about shadow work. I want to do shadow work. And I'm like, cool. What was your problem again? Like, yeah, well, my marriage is falling apart. Great. You sure you don't want me to work on that though? Like, you sure you want to do this other thing? Like,
Tell you what,
I want to do the
tell you
sexy
what.
shadow work thing.
I'll do the shadow work.
Yeah.
While we're doing that,
Can we do this other
get
thing?
an attorney.
Yeah. At least
So
invest
as
in
you're going through this
divorce
divorce,
you can
we can
ask
talk
your
about-
unconscious how half your shit went over to your wife.
Right.
You didn't solve this shit when I could have fixed you.
yeah.
Yeah. So like
We
but
could talk
no.
about how Peter Pan couldn't reattach his shadow.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
All the shadow work. Use soap.
Get a lawyer.
It is interesting though, and I think one day I'd like to talk to other outpatient therapists about this and get their opinion about it. But I know a lot of outpatient therapists have, because mental health's more popular than ever. The writer talks about watching TikTok, and a lot of people come in and they go, "I really want to do CBT with you." And like, look, on this show, I have talked a lot about CBT. I think it's a very useful tool. I keep a Phillips head screwdriver in my junk drawer because it shows up in my life all the time and I need one, right? So like, it's just a very useful tool. But I'm not religiously devoted to it. I don't care. But I have patients that'll show up and go, I picked you because you mentioned CBT on your profile. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, I want to use CBT. It's really important to me. I'm like, great. You haven't even told me what the problem is yet. So like, I think I'll decide which tool we're going to use. But like, I'm being condescending on the show.
No,
in real life, I don't talk like that to a patient. I'm like, great, I'm so excited
does.
you're learning
Or
about
does
this.
he?
Yeah, he does.
Tell me more about the thing, right? And
Well,
like,
it's almost
we'll
kind of
start
like
there.
it's kind of like hiring a plumber and being like, hey,
Really
I
want
know,
you to use the snake.
I know you've got this kind of tool.
Use the snake,
I
please.
really want you to do this.
I hired you because I
Yes.
heard you're really good with the snake.
Yeah.
Like, I am, but you have a leaky faucet.
Yeah.
Right, Jacob? That all checks out. My metaphor worked, right? Like,
Sure.
you wouldn't use a snake on a leaky faucet.
I haven't listened to you in years.
I didn't know that you were meditating the whole time.
Yep.
Now I know.
That's
He's incinerating all the thoughts
How do you
of Jim.
think he's made it 6 years?
Honestly,
on this
it
show?
kind of makes sense.
It
now.
does.
It turns out he's like
It
a Buddhist
does.
monk this whole time.
Yeah.
So, Ryder, my last piece of advice, I don't like patients to obsess too hard on theory. I'm okay with you having some basic literacy about it. I'm okay with you having explored a little bit. And if you have opinions like, oh, this sounds like I would resonate with this, honestly, wonderful.
No.
You're already doing homework. That's
Okay.
great. Bring
what,
that in.
What if the writer is one of our listeners who's like going to school to become a therapist?
Oh, and they're
or-
picking a
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
to use. I'm a big fan of learning every single theory you possibly can and treating it with respect, like having respect for all theories. Every single one of those theory
Yeah.
writers is smarter than you.
Yeah, I agree. I think learning as many theories as you can, and then kind of like book learning the theories, but then in your practical work, really practice on just being a human being.
Yeah. That's,
Compassion, active listening, like all of those skills, those are the things that you want to really hone and practice. And then you can start incorporating some of the book work.
Theory to me is a playbook.
Yeah.
It's just a playbook of here's all these different plays you can use depending upon problems that you see. And that's how I treated my theories class. I had created a binder with just methods and techniques and then like short breakdowns of every theory. And I brought that binder to me in my student practicum and internship. And that was honestly like my football playbook. Like I would run to that thing and think, okay, what's the problem? Which theories have a solution for that? How would Fritz solve this? How would Jung solve this? You know, what would Adler do? And like I would just play with those like different techniques and see what would work best for me. But for those of you who are students, a lot of the way you land on theory, I think I've learned seems to have a lot to do with personality. And I don't know if that's true of everywhere, but like, I don't know, like even how the psychodynamics suddenly, the people who seem to be championing it in this weird invisible turf war of their own creation seem to be the type that are like, man, I'm really upset at like phrases like evidence-based practices and empiricism. And like, I want us to recapture the psyche and psychology and like the soulfulness and like intuition and invisibility and like, okay, but that's a personality. Like that's a frame of reference. That's a worldview, which I don't have any beef with it. I don't care. I think you are the right therapist for many, many people. And you can bring, I think you're going to be just as effective as I ever will be. But it's a perspective. And I think that you might be naturally more attracted to psychodynamics if you have that perspective.
Yeah.
Which again, I agree with that to some extent, right? Like I don't want therapy to become this rigid stoicism like mathematics. It's not. Like it's always been a metaphysical art. And I think it should be. I don't want to lose that. But I just don't. Psychodynamicists, why are we fighting? It's weird that you're fighting with everybody. Like there's not even an us versus them. There's no us. It's just you. It's just you with your circled wagons yelling at the rest of us. And I don't get it. I just want you to stop doing it.
On that note, thanks, Ryder.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about dating somebody with clinical depression. You're listening to Pod Physics.
Today's episode is brought to you by Jake Schneider, Judy Schneider, Leon Cassad, Carolyn Albert, Sandy Scoop, Sarah Smith, Mike Helm, Darren Cunningham, Matt, Lisa Tangeman, and Dr. Hot Dog Scoop. Woo! Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Our second question that we're not going to get.
Speak for yourself. I'm crushing.
What does
You only have 1 point.
Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. You know what? Just for that, I'm taking away the other
Now
damn
Jim
it.
and I are tied.
Now I got to sink the putt.
one. All right. What does the C that labels the positively charged second generation quark stand for? What the fuck? Not third generation, second generation. Okay?
Positively charged quark.
Yes. A, charged. B, charm. C, CERN. D, central. E, cool.
I know the answer.
No, you don't.
I know it. It's charm. Final answer.
Okay, good.
All right, great. What was D?
D was central.
What was E?
Cool.
Sounds nice. I like that one too.
What was C?
CERN.
D. I'm going D.
Central?
Yep.
I'll go A,
Great.
charged. Answer is, just got to unhighlight it. We all got it wrong.
Excellent.
Wait, no,
Shit.
wait. What'd you say?
He said charm.
Motherfucker.
And fuck yourself. I'm
Steve.
so good at physics, bitches.
Okay.
So good.
Then explain it.
Oh, the physics?
No.
You wouldn't understand because
No.
you're dumb.
That's all the time we have today.
I ruined the show by being good at
Physicists
shit.
are historically awful at naming things, and the charm quirk got its name because physicists thought it was, well, charming.
Yeah. No, that's what's really
Wow.
funny. Like if you go through the standard model.
Don't pretend like you
No,
know.
just the
any of
names are
this.
funny. Like they're just really funny names. Like up, down. Those are real things. Like there's this whole thing called like the particle zoo, and it's just all these really funny names of all these little random things that physicists just make up because they're just like, we have to come up with like a memorable name for this. It's like, what about this thing? It seems to hold things together. Okay, call it the glue-on. Like they just like come up with bullshit all the time. Like,
All right.
That's why I knew the charm thing was a thing.
Oh, it's me with 2 points, Jim's at 1, and Jacob's got 0.
That's right.
You're just jealous. That's what that is.
Yeah, it turns out my theater
Jealous.
degree didn't require a whole lot of physics.
Not as much
No?
as you thought.
No.
My religion
My-
degree
my
is
theater-
surprisingly a lot of
My
physics.
theater history degree, hardly any physics required.
Not as much as people would expect. Yeah, less than people wanted. Dating somebody with clinical depression from Anonymous. Hello, life coach Jacob and the other idiots.
Howdy.
I'm writing you today to see how I can be a better partner to one of my girlfriends. As you may have guessed, I'm polyamorous. I have 2 girlfriends. We all have our own therapists to deal with our own problems, but inevitably, in partnerships, we need to support each other during bad days and between sessions. The girlfriend in question, let's call her Robin, is very level-headed, calm, and logical in her thinking, but can sometimes be a worrier. My other partner, we'll call her Raven, has borderline personality disorder, anxiety, and depression. As someone who also struggles with anxiety and depression, Raven and I have a different relationship style when compared to me and Robin. The other week, I had a particularly hard day at work, to the point where I had to pull over to cry before finishing my drive home. I called Robin to tell her about my day, and she was able to help me calm myself down and talk me through a plan for tackling these problems at work. I then talked to Raven. She let me vent a bit more, and the conversation shifted toward making fun of my boss and coworkers, with some existential dread type humor and suicide jokes peppered in for good measure. Later that day, I was texting with Robin and made a comment about being dead. To be clear, I did not explicitly mention suicide, just an if I died type of comment. Well, Robin immediately phoned me, concerned for my mental well-being. Once I made it clear I wasn't in any danger, I told her about the baseball diamond metaphor you've used before, letting her know that I wasn't even on the field. I know if I had been texting with Raven, her response to my text would probably just be, LOL, your death is funny. From recent conversations, I know Raven is convinced everyone has depression. She and I think about death a lot, multiple times a day. However, Robin only thinks about death every week or 2. I don't know if there is a normal amount of time for these types of thoughts, but hearing how often I think about death caught Robin off guard. How can I appropriately let Robin know how I'm feeling? I don't want to stress her out about my mental well-being, but I also don't want to mask my feelings when I'm having a depression day. Help! In case Jim is reading, Pello, croissant, attributes, attributed, and you're bad at geography. But per the ADHD deep dive, I still like you anyway. Thanks in advance. Anonymous pronouns are he and him.
You did not
Wow.
listen to the whole ADHD deep dive.
6 hours.
No one did.
Oh, come on. My mom
Sapphire,
probably did.
Jim released an ADHD deep
Her
dive
name is Cinnamon.
and made the whole thing 6.5 hours long as a fuck you to anyone who has ADHD who decided to listen to
Everything he said is right except for the part where it was meant maliciously. It was meant to be informative.
it. I didn't say it was meant to be a fuck you. I said it was a fuck you.
Encyclopedic breakdown of everything with ADHD. I may not have written it well for people with ADHD, but for those interested in ADHD, I think it's great. But it's definitely not for people that have ADHD. In a sense, it's kind of like this like weird Harry Potter shit where like you ever seen Harry Potter 1 where the Sorcerer's Stone, you have to get it from a mirror in which you look in the mirror and you see what you want to see, but the only person that could get the stone is the person who doesn't want the stone? It's basically that, but with a deep dive about ADHD.
It's exactly that.
The only people who can learn
Man,
about
I
ADHD
tuned out
are
of
the
that.
ones who
I
don't
tuned out of
have
that whole thing.
You should
He
listen
said
to my
Harry
6
Potter,
hour
and I literally
explanation.
don't know what he said after that.
All right, so how do we deal with having depression in relationships, but then our partner sometimes hears us talking about that and quickly becomes anxious, overthinks it, overworried, but yet we still need to talk about it. How do we do better about that?
So I think the way that I always like to look at this is your partner is teaching you how to talk to them
Right.
if you're paying attention. So what you've just learned is however you were addressing that problem didn't seem to resonate or resonated in a way that you didn't intend for it. So I think the first thing is to just be clear with your intentions. And actually, I think the baseball metaphor is probably a good way to explain that. And so hopefully that worked in the long run, and hopefully she understood that as you had explained it. But I think in the future, you just kind of need to just kind of be clear. So if you're talking about, hey, this is, I just need to vent about my depression. I'm having some depressive thoughts. I just need to walk them by you, and kind of prefacing a little bit with, I'm safe, I'm okay.
Yeah.
That being said, here's kind of some of the things I'm thinking, which you may not have to do with Raven, but obviously Robin has informed you that is probably the appropriate way.
That's exactly it. I think you nailed it. It's
Cool.
almost exactly like a safe word in sex. That's the way I think of it. So it's
Okay,
like
yeah,
it's a prearranged term.
Yes.
That's it. No, watch.
Glad we're all on the same page. Go ahead.
Pineapple. Basically, it's pineapple. So like
Okay.
it's a prearranged word that indicates where you're going with this, right? Like, or where you're at. So that's what it is. You're telling somebody, hey, I just need to vent. I'm safe. Like what you said. I'm safe, but I'm having thoughts about death. But it's also tricky, writer, because the way you present that is always going to be difficult, right? Like it's one thing to tell somebody I'm having a really tough day and I just feel like the world would be better off without me. I just feel worthless. I feel despair, that kind of stuff. I just feel like, why am I around?
Yeah.
There's ways to describe all those feelings without ever once using the word death. But when you use the word death, the dog's ears pop up in the air and go, wait a minute,
You know what?
It hits the radar. It
There
pings on the
is-
radar.
And I can kind of understand this because there are things that do kind of rub me the wrong way. Like if someone's talking to me and they're just not like if they're seriously having suicidal thoughts or anything like that, I will hear that, I'll receive it, and I take it very seriously.
Right.
And if somebody is also just kind of like having those thoughts of, oh, if I wasn't around,
Right. I'd be
I
better
can
off dead.
I can understand that. But there's this kind of middle zone there that I've noticed about me makes me very uncomfortable. And it's kind of that zone where people will say things that are like intentionally shocking, but do so in a way that they know they're not serious.
Yeah.
Kind of really
Yeah.
bothers me.
Yeah.
It like, and I've had to
Give us an
people-
example.
I'm trying to think of an example, but it's kind of like if somebody says something like, "Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. I'll probably be dead in 5 years anyway,"
Okay.
where they don't really believe that,
It's one of those things that you
but
go,
they're doing
huh.
it like,
Yeah, it's a phrase that's
It's-
meant to catch your
Exactly.
attention, but not draw alarm.
yes,
But like, I'm listening.
so like the person
yeah.
isn't serious about it, but
Right.
says it with intent to get
Yeah.
a reaction.
Yeah. Like, I'm so worried about climate change, or like, I'm so worried about the economy. These banks are crashing, but it won't affect me anyway. I won't be around.
Yeah,
like-
like that.
What?
Yeah,
What are you?
and so like that's a sticky subject for me, like because
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Right. But this goes back to rhetoric too. And I think this advises the writer, right?
Yeah.
Like the way you're communicating with people in your life. And you mentioned having an existentialist gallows dark humor with one of your girlfriends, and that wouldn't work well with the other one. And that's very fair, right? Like there's somebody that you could therapeutically be talking to and joking about something you would never do, but letting out angst and frustration and despair tongue in cheek. And they pick up what you're throwing down, and they're like, I got you. I know you're not for real. The fact that you're joking about it is the clue I needed to know you're not serious, but that you're venting and you're talking about it in sort of the way you can access. Great. You have a shared language. You don't have that shared language with the other person. And so if that's the case and you lack that shared language, you have to match where they're at.
Yep.
And that isn't, I don't want to call that masking though. I want to call that communication, especially with a partner, and you have to know your partner's going to worry about you if certain words are said. But the answer to poor communication is more communication, right? And that's exactly what you did here. You talked about it and said, hey, let me explain. Here's what suicide looks like. Here's the baseball diamond, which we'll talk about in a second. Because anytime it gets brought up, we always teach people again. Here's what that looks like. I'm not even on the field. I'm just saying I feel despair. I feel discouraged. I feel defeated. It's an off day. And also, writer, another asset that I would encourage you to find is an emotion words list. And that's something we've been trying to champion for years. Broaden your emotional vocabulary so you can use other words like, I feel defeated today. I feel discouraged. I feel just fatigued. I'm emotionally exhausted. I feel despair. I just feel worthless and sort of invisible and unseen. I feel like I have low value. That's kind of where I'm at. All those can replace the same sentiment as I feel like dying, except without sounding actionable. Right? You're just describing feeling words. So broaden your emotional vocabulary. I think that will go a long way to communicate.
Yep.
Let's talk about the baseball diamond because it got brought up. So real quick, the shorthand way that therapists kind of think about suicidality, this isn't universal, but it's an easy method. We think about it like a baseball diamond. If a person's having thoughts like, sometimes I think like I shouldn't be alive, or like I think would the world be better off without me, or do I have any value? Just thinking about death. That's first base. Therapists are not alarmed. We're used to it. We talk about it all the time. We're happy to work with you. Second base is whenever somebody starts thinking, here's how I would do that. And those are becoming increasingly practical thoughts. Like they're imagining not just dying, but then this is the method I would probably use to do that. How do therapists feel about that? We're paying attention. We're getting a little bit closer to this. We're worried about you a little bit more. We want to talk about it. We're starting to do a little bit of safety planning. We're monitoring it much more closely. But we're not freaking out. We're not putting you, in a padded room. When you pass second base and start running to third base, you're thinking not just, I think I would like to die, and that's becoming more and more practical with the method. Now I'm starting to think about when. I'm starting to think about like, this is the where it would happen. This is the when it would happen. This is the how it would happen. I'm really getting practical. And it's not just an intrusive thought. It's not just, oh man, I anxiously sometimes worry about this. No. It doesn't scare you at all. Like you're increasingly thinking about it a very practical way as if you think that would be a solution to a problem. That's third base. And then you're starting to run home when you're making real plans to do that. Therapists are definitely going to want to intervene right around shortstop. We're going to try to show up between second and third base and try to prevent you from getting to third. And if we think that you're likely to try to steal home, we're putting you in a hospital. So that's the baseball diamond. It's much more nuanced than that in real life, but that's kind of a big picture that teaches the general public how we think about it. And remember, friends, if you are out there today and you are past those bases and you are starting to have dark thoughts, it is not healthy for you to have those thoughts. It's okay that you have them. They're very natural, and yet you're supposed to talk about them. Silence keeps us sick. We don't want you to do that. Remember that you can go to the suicide hotline. You can also dial 988 on any phone. You can text that line as well, and that is immediately going to connect you to the suicide hotline and to a mental health support crisis line. There's no fee for that. Nobody's going to kick down your door and come get you. It's just a safe.
They don't even want a copay.
That's right. There's no copay. Talk to them. 988. Very easy to do. No excuse not to. Tell a friend. But I'd rather you talk about it. Even if you worry that a person in your life is going to overreact, it's okay to talk about it and then to teach them about yourself and your feelings through that conversation. More conversation is better than poor conversation. That's how you fix it.
There you go.
I love it. All right, we've had a great show, nay, the best show ever, I think is probably the way I would describe it, based on the trivia.
Sure.
Mostly based on the trivia.
All right.
Do we have more physics questions?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, hell yeah. You want to save those for Patreon after this?
Yeah, or we'll save them for the next round.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's the next show.
Oh, we have enough. Okay. That's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. And I've got more from Myra, too. So we're
There's
good
a
for the
lot of
next-
questions that we won't know the answers to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good for the next month, I
Those
think.
are the best. As we wrap up the show, we want to remind you that if you sign up at patreon.com/therapy, you can get the extended show ad-free a day early, as well as access our live chat Discord community, our weekly Monday drops that include deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. All those goodies at patreon.com/therapy, and this stuff will be delivered right to your podcast app that you're using right now. with the click of a button when you sign in. It's super duper easy stuff.
And we got some new Patreons. So we've got a new Therapal, Marina Heddick,
Hello.
and a new Therapod, Cat's Millionaire.
I like that name. Cat's Millionaire. And of course, we want to thank our partner, Dirty B, and our bosses, the Saccharins. We got to stop with the Saccharin
No,
16. It
we've
only
done
confuses
it.
people.
We've done it for 5 years.
I've been leaving
We're not
it out for
stopping.
most
I'm
of it. here.
genuinely not confused about it at all.
The mysterious and
I don't
shrouded
care.
Illuminati members of the fan club that they're producers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr., Mint, Smitty, Scoop, Ben, Don, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Dr. and Mr., Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Cindy Ash, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Newstick, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley, Slap in Your Face, Polygon, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University Jeff, Mike Helm, Myra, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, and a Sunny Boy.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time that we got for this week's session. Want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share the episode. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Twitter and Instagram, and /PodTherapy on Facebook. Don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? Ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Dangeman.
I'm an astrophysicist.
Thanks.
You're
We'll see you
half
for your
right.
appointment next week.
Guys, I'm so good
You're
at
an ass.
astrophysics. So good at it. I knew I was going to dunk on you both. Feels good. Let me be honest with you.
Did Jim even win?
No,
I
he
fucked you
lost.
both up.
No.
I crushed.
No,
I crushed.
no.
Only
Just
with
for,
Nick's
just for
sabotage.
that, I'm taking away another